Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Flabob Chronicles. My name is Stanley Harriman.
Clarissa.
Welcome. And today we have the honorable, can we say that?
Temporarily.
Temporarily honorable Kevin McKenzie. So thank you.
Good
Thanks for coming in.
afternoon. Thanks for having me.
From the past guests as we had, two names were really dominant in their story of the formation of Flabob, of how it is today, and their journeys. One of them was John, and the other person was you. So we had to track you down.
Yeah.
Man,
It was hard to do, but we had to track you down.
wow. All I can say is I've been often accused but never convicted.
Well, now we got you.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised that people would consider that I would have a role, a significant role in all this. My view was always that if I was doing my job around here well, everybody would see the work that we did, but nobody would know my name.
Well,
It's quite the opposite.
we found it out. So we're pretty good researchers. So we
Okay.
got deep and saw all those minutes of meetings on how to form Flabob, and you were on there. So we got you.
Well, I figured, see, the people that really founded Flabob, it was Tom Wathen,
Right?
and then John Lyon. Those were the two guys. John and I think, have sort of become the second generation as time has gone along here, but neither of us were around at the very beginning.
So what was the beginning for you? How did you get pulled into here, and how did you get pulled into aviation in general? Hopefully, you kind of mixed the two stories together. But
All right, well, we'll start with aviation and work our way back to Tom, because that's a great story in and of itself. So I grew up in the San Fernando Valley in the 1960s. So aviation and aerospace was everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I got my first airplane ride with a friend of my dad when I was about 5 or 6. And I can remember still flying around the north end of the San Fernando Valley in a 172. And it's like 1963, 1964. So nobody else is out there. And we're flying through clouds, and I'm flying this 172. I'm like 6 years old, and I'm thinking this is the greatest thing of all time. My kid brother's puking in the back.
well, you did, that means you're doing it right.
Yeah, and I just got hooked on it. And it's a joke to an extent, but I always say that one of the greatest influences on me were Saturday morning war movies in the 1960s on KTTV in LA.
Oh man.
And it was because all the cool guys were flying airplanes. There were the other guys were sitting in the mud and all that bad stuff, and the cool guys that had the jackets and the sunglasses
And the scarves.
They're
Sure.
and the scarves. They're flying airplanes. There is a scarf story I can tell you as we get along with
I'm
this.
ready.
So it's just something that I always wanted to be a part of, and came from a family with no aviation background and not enough money to go out and, have my dad learn to fly or buy an airplane or anything like that. And so literally I couldn't get enough of it. I built a quote unquote spaceship in the backyard kind of thing, which eventually became an airplane cockpit.
Right.
And so I was in there, everybody else is running around doing really cool things. I'm the nerd who's sitting in the box in the backyard, flying the box.
I had the same box.
Until I was maybe 12, maybe 13, even, way too late, way too old to be messing around with that kind of stuff.
Take it back. That's kind of nerdy.
So yeah, totally nerdy. So great story there is I used to harangue my parents to take me over to Burbank Airport just to stand and watch airplanes. Because back then all the gates were open,
Yep.
Right.
and you could walk right up to the fence and just look out and do that. And one afternoon I'd cadged a ride from my mom, and she's sitting out in the parking lot reading a magazine in the car. And back then there was a commuter airline called Cable Commuter. Bob Cable from QB. This was Bob's family. So Cable Commuter flew Twin Otters, and they just flew them around Southern California, commuter line. And I'm standing out by the fence, and a Cable Commuter Twin Otter pulls up to the gate. And I'm just sitting there kind of hanging on the fence looking at it. And the passengers get off, the crew gets off, and they start walking over toward me. And it's like I'm frozen almost with fear, but it's like, these guys are coming over. They're going to talk to me.
Yeah, they're heroes.
Yeah. And so the guys walk up and go, hey, how you doing? Hey, do you enjoy airplanes? I said, oh, yes, sir. You want to come and see ours? So out I go. And the guys show me the airplane, and they sit me in the cockpit and do all that kind of stuff. And before we parted company, the captain goes, would you like to go flying with us someday? I would go, oh my God, I would love that. And so he ended up getting our phone number and stuff like that. About a month later, it's a Saturday morning, I'm mowing the backyard, and my mom yells out the window, there's a Captain Watson on the phone. Do you know what that's about? And I go, ah. And he had apparently talked to my folks and gotten this all okayed. So I spent the afternoon flying with these guys, Burbank to LAX, to El Monte and back, Santa Barbara and back. I don't think my feet touched the ground for about a week after that.
Oh my God.
That's amazing.
It was just an amazing experience. And if I was not hooked on flying before then, I was hooked on it when that was all over.
You know, that's all it takes.
Started flying when I was 15 and a half. I could fly before I could drive. Soloed on my 16th birthday. You know, I'd always sort of figured that when I got through college, I would fly in the military and then go be an airline pilot. Well, by the time I got out of college, my eyes were 20/30, so I could sit in the back and read radar, but I couldn't sit up front. So I'm like, that's not a very good idea. And we're in the middle of a gas crisis and not enough, you know, nobody was hiring anybody to do anything. So the idea was, well, is there something I could do that would be helpful, that I could still enjoy flying, just not as a profession? And that's what sort of drugged me down into the depths of hell and left me at law school. So, and during that same time, that's where I met Tom Wathen, because I was friends with a guy who had a Stearman, and
Those are good friends.
yeah. And
Yeah.
he was a former Air Force test pilot out of Edwards.
Okay.
And he hadn't flown in years and years, and he called me up one day. He says, Kevin, I'd really like to start flying again. I'd like to get an airplane, and I'd like to get a Stearman. And I'm quickly grabbing a book while I'm talking to him to look and see what a Stearman is, because I have no clue. And I see it, and I go, wow. And I found one for him. And so bought it, and we flew it out of Van Nuys for a long time. So this all gets connected because I met Tom Wathen because it's July, we had to put a battery box in the Stearman up against the firewall. I'm upside down in the front cockpit with my legs sticking out, trying to get up to the firewall. And it's hot and we smell bad and just bad tempered. And in the midst of this, you know, we're in there cranking the stuff and I hear, hi there. It's like, oh,
Not now. Not now.
tourists, tourists. So I pop open the side panel, and there's Tom Wathen standing there with a straw boater on. Hey guys, what are you doing? Turns out Tom had a 172 that was parked next to the Stearman.
Okay.
And 5 minutes with Tom Wathen, he's your new best friend. And he was inviting us to go out to lunch with him at Santa Paula Airport because he loved to go to Santa Paula. And we're sort of going, man, it might not be the best idea we ever had. But that's how I met the guy. And we got to be very good, very, very good friends. And Tom was the kind of guy that would call you up and say, Kevin, you'd be doing me a big favor if. Whatever followed if was the world's biggest favor to you and only seemed to be marginally helping him.
Right.
But that was the way Tom did things. So he calls me up and he says, Kev, you do me a really big favor. Look, I go out and I try to fly my 172 on Sunday, and shoot, if I missed it because I've been working too hard, the battery's dead or the tire's flat or something like that. If I gave you a key and put you on the insurance, would you fly the 172 around for me so that it would be ready to go?
I would never. I would never. How dare you?
On a weekend if you do this? And I'd go, sure. So one day he calls me up and says, what do you know about boats? And I go, nothing.
Everything.
Nothing. He goes, look, I got this 36-foot cabin cruiser down at the Cal Yacht Club in Marina Del Rey, and I try to go down there on a Sunday to go out and cruise around the marina, and the battery's dead. And this, if I showed you, if I taught you how to use this and got you all set up, would you drive the boat around for me, on weekends, so that when I went down there, the boat would be ready?
Man, where are these friends these days?
Yeah, I could do that for you. So this goes on for a period of years. I end up going through law school, moved down to Temecula. Tom and I are still close. We talk all the time. He calls me up one day and says, Kev, hey, I just bought an airport. You'd be doing me a big favor if you'd help me run it.
What do you know about airports? I can land on all.
Even for Tom, that was pretty amazing. And I went, what did you do? He goes, I bought Flabob. And I was just dead silence, like.
And you know nothing about his thought process before that?
Well, yes. Tom, for years, had a picture in his office, pen and ink drawing done by a friend of ours named Pat Packard. And it was of what he called Pioneer Airport. Kind of like the name is the same one they use out in Oshkosh for their little Pioneer thing. But Tom always had this wonderful fixation on golden age airplanes, 20s through the 40s. And he always said, I'm going to put together this place, and I'm going to put classic airplanes on it. It's going to be a great place.
Wow, his vision.
Well, and he found the story out about Flabob. Actually, I should run this quickly. Did you ever hear the story about how Tom came to buy Flabob?
Different variations,
Yeah.
but
All right,
yours probably
tell us.
clear.
So here's the story is, Tom's actually been trying to make this Pioneer Airport come to fruition, somewhere other than in the middle of the empty desert,
Right.
100 miles from anywhere. And he hears that something's up with Flabob. And this is the later 80s, maybe around, later 90s. Sorry, later 90s. And so he sends his friend John Lyon out. And Tom and John and I have known each other for a long time. And John comes out and he meets with, Don Madriaga, Flavio's son. And he goes, Don, I hear the airport might be for sale. What's going on? And Don goes, oh, John, you're a little late, because I agreed to sell it today to some developers. And they're going to scrape the airport and turn it into houses.
That exact day.
And John goes, did you sign anything? And Don goes, no, they're going to come back tomorrow. And John goes, if Tom will pay you the same amount of money that the developers were going to pay you, would you sell it to Tom and let him keep it open as an airport? And Don goes, absolutely.
Oh, that's
We had no idea anybody was interested. So the fun part of the story is, John is with one of Tom's stepsons. And John says, well, as a gesture of good faith, we're going to write you a deposit check right now, because first of all, unless it's in writing, it's not binding. John's a lawyer, just like I was, so it's not binding. So we're going to do this, and we'll be back in the morning with something for you to sign.
Gotcha.
Great. So he writes a check for like $100,000, gives it to Don. At this point, Tom is somewhere in the south of France. And of course, there's 8 hours time difference. So John gets on the phone with Tom and says, I got some really good news and some, at least some challenging news. And Tom goes, all right. And John goes, you just bought Flabob. And Tom goes, awesome, that's totally hot. All right. So what's the challenging news? John goes, I just wrote a rubber check for $100,000 to Don. And what I need you to do is, as soon as, it gets to be morning in France, you need to wire or talk to your bank to move the money into the account so the check doesn't bounce. And so that's how Tom ended up with Flabob. So now we're back to this, Tom calls me and says, yeah, I just bought Flabob. And it's just like, even for you, that's unusual. You want to run that by me again? Yeah, I bought Flabob. So so I come out here, and it's just like, wow, you're stepping into an amazing time machine.
Yeah.
And the place didn't look anything like it looks now.
No.
I still think it's a time machine.
Well,
From where I've worked, from my everyday down in Orange County.
yes.
So, but I get it. I get what you're trying to say.
Yes, and so the joke we used to tell people is we could make Rustic scream for mercy here, because we actually had stops that if you went around the airport, we'd go, now watch this, see what Flavio did there, see what Flavio did here. You know, there were some hangars over on the east end of the airport. Again, they're gone now, but they were actually made out of spare telephone poles.
Wow.
Those are hard to
Honestly,
get. How many
honestly,
telephone
God.
poles do you need to get?
Creosote telephone poles where they're thicker at one end than the
for
other.
sure.
And so there was nothing that Flavio couldn't use. If you go to the cafe, and in the front, there's a little overhang outside the door, and there's some angled steel supports for it. If you look at it, you'll notice they have these weird, like 45-degree welding marks in it.
Okay.
Flavio had gotten a contract to make some kind of pipes for somebody, and they required 45-degree miter cuts. So he did that. He's got a pile of
Excess.
odds and ends left behind. So he goes to his welder and says, see those? Make something out of it. And that's where the supports for this thing came from. Every building on this airport came from somewhere else.
You know,
You know, there's the story that Flavio was going out to Blythe, I think it was, one day, and he looked down, he could see a bunch of guys and a whole bunch of wood and like wood packing and everything. And so he landed, just see what was going on. And the wood and the packing were left over from the packing crates that were used for General Patton
yes.
to get the Sherman tanks out into the desert, where he used them for the training of Fort Irwin
Like a little
facility.
crate stuff.
So Flavio ended up trading flying lessons and his Aranca, I think it was, for the packing crates. Well, the hangars right next to the office,
No way.
that's the packing crates. When you look in there and you look at the walls and you see the Xing,
Yeah.
those are the packing crates that the Sherman tanks came in.
That's
It's in the
crazy.
Wright Flyer Museum.
Nothing around here that Flavio couldn't have made. And so it was always a delicate balance about trying to keep that atmosphere but not have a building fall down on an airplane.
Right.
You know, the hangars at the east end with the phone poles actually had termite diapers on them
Oh no.
for a while, just because the wood would fall down on the wings of whatever airplane was in there, and they'd be going, "What is this?" So,
We got strong winds out here too. You
Yeah.
gotta be
oh
careful
my
with
God,
that stuff.
oh yeah. So all this stuff goes along over time, and a fun follow-up story about what happens at Flabob is, I think I came out here starting in about 2001, so I've been
Okay.
around for about 25 years now. And we used to have the high school for River Springs, or whoever they were at the time. They were right here. Matter of fact, this was one of their classrooms.
Okay.
I've taught aerodynamics for idiots in this classroom. And one morning we had a board meeting, and I was out here early, and so I pulled out the Citabria and I was just chugging around the pattern, just doing takeoffs and landings. And I looked over, and there's a kid sitting on one of the picnic benches over at the Shady Grove.
Mm.
And I remembered the cable commuter guys coming over and talking to me
Absolutely.
at Burbank and taking me flying. And I probably never should have done it, but so I landed, taxied up, I went like that. And the kid comes over and I go, "Hey, how much time you got until classes start?" And the guy goes, "Well, about 45 minutes.
Oh.
So, you want to go flying?" Kid jumps in the back. We went around 3 or 4 times, just giving him a flight.
That gives me the chills.
Well, what happened after that, it's just one of those programs that has kind of come and gone and maybe come back. And, again, you shouldn't be taking a high school kid flying unless his parents say it's okay, sort of thing. So we began to notice that anytime I came out to the airport, I was like the Pied Piper.
Yeah.
Because I'd walk by a building and there'd be about 4 kids that would be sneaking a look around the corner of the building. You know,
You
Is
do it once.
is he here?
Yeah.
Is he getting an airplane out? Could we catch a ride with him? Because the story got around. And so we actually had something called a blue card. And if your parents were cool with it and you were doing well in school and you had this blue card, if anybody was flying at Flabob, you could show them the blue card, and if there was an empty seat, you could jump in and go.
Oh, that's
Wow.
And that's how we got a
Did you know
whole
about that?
generation.
No.
Austin, that's how Austin got into this.
yeah.
The kid that I took flying that day turned out to be one of the Flabob kids for a long time until he ended up with his family moving to Texas. Had the unusual name of Friend Deming. But Friend
heard of that
and his
name.
younger brother, Jonathan's a rocket engineer out at Vandenberg.
Oh, that's cool.
So, anything we could do that would just stimulate an interest.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't put a kid next to an airplane and not have something happen.
That's right.
So especially when you have our background, and we went through that. So so much of what we've tried to do over the years is just try to put kids in airplanes next to each other and go, isn't this cool?
Yeah. Yeah. We're still doing it now, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, we do those EA
Yay.
Young Eagles.
Young
and
Eagles
honestly,
flights.
and just any event really. We have the biplanes out, and come on, hop in.
Exactly. And kids of all ages.
Yeah. Me.
But the whole idea behind Flabob was to sort of create an educational campus that just happened to be based upon airplanes and aviation. And determined very early on that we wanted to try and make it as accessible as we could, which meant we wanted it to be accessible to the neighborhood, the surrounding neighborhood. And so this didn't become something where, well, we would only want you if you want to get your Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering. The answer was no. There's so many career paths and so many things you can do in aviation. And so just to get somebody interested in it, one of the hardest things we've had to do around here is, you get some, elementary school kid who comes out with the elementary school visits and they get to see the airplanes. And I always had them sit in the airplane and move the stick, and they were just like, oh,
Yeah.
And when you showed them the DC-3, I always put them in the pilot seat. And it's like, oh my God, ha ha ha. But after that, then okay, what do you do as a follow-on? So, how do you get a kid to stay interested in aviation over time? Well, with varying degrees of success, but we've tried to come up with different programs, like Dave Almy of the Red Barn.
So successful.
Yeah, and throughout the years, we've had several aircraft building projects where essentially you come out and a group of kids build an airplane. I can't remember exactly now. I think it was a Piper, but it was entirely kid built or kid restored. It's now in the EAA museum at Oshkosh.
Oh, it's the Iranka.
And one of the Iranka,
Yeah.
okay, and one of the kids that built it was one of the kids that flew it back to
I heard.
Oshkosh to put it in the museum, that sort of thing. And so to try and replicate that and get as many kids interested, and then to try and forge connections to work on one of the reasons we were so excited back in the day, and John and I had a lot to do with this, about getting Spartan here, was, not everybody's going to be an engineer. But maybe someone would be interested in doing maintenance.
Right.
And you can get a great job in aviation with an A&P.
Absolutely.
And so having them here, the hardest struggle has been to try and put together kind of a cohesive series of steps so that you could bring a kid along.
And they can choose their adventure.
Choose their future. And we've been hampered over the years. I was just thinking about this. There was a time, sort of back in the dark ages, there was a time where we were probably about 2 or 3 months away from bankruptcy and just having to close the airport. And we powered through it, and a lot of volunteer stuff. Anybody who would look at me and say, yeah, that would be a great guy to go out and teach basic, aerodynamics light to teenagers, it's like, no, that ain't going to work. But that's what I've taught aerodynamics light to teenagers. Go home at night and read Aerodynamics for Naval Aviators by Harry Hurt.
Yep, I have that.
You know, that's how I taught myself aerodynamics, so I could turn around and teach it
the
to
next
kids.
day.
You know, whatever we could do. And looking back, we've succeeded a lot more than I ever thought was possible. So I always try to focus on keep pushing that mission forward. And there, you know, one of the things that John talks about, John Goldenbaum, I call it the circle of life theory.
Okay.
Which is, you may get a kid hooked on aviation when they're younger, and then life gets in the way.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you know, you can't go out and spend $100 plus an hour to go rent a 172 just to go do 3 takeoffs and landings every 90 days. You've got a family, you've got kids and all that. But you know what? The family will grow up, the kids will grow up and leave. And if you spark that interest, they'll come back to it.
They'll come back.
It's the circle of life, you know? And so one of the things we've tried to work on here too is not make everything we do here just exclusive to kids,
Right.
but to try and make it exclusive to, or inclusive to anybody in the community, just because they may have had an experience way back when.
Yeah.
I'm going to forget the guy's name, Huerta. He was the guy that ran the FAA maybe about 2 or 3 administrations ago.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's right.
He grew up delivering papers. He grew up in Rubidoux. He delivered papers. He
Really?
would bring, you know, back in the day, because I did this too, you know, they'd drop off a stack of papers and you'd have to fold them and put a rubber band on them and put them in the bag and then drive your bike around the neighborhood. He would come over to Flabob and sit and watch airplanes while he folded the papers. And got
Wow.
And he ends up as the head of the FAA.
Yeah, that's a big leap.
And at one point he had a chance to come back out here and he said, I'd like to go back out to Flabob and see the
Yeah.
guys. So we spent an afternoon with him. Wonderful guy, you know.
He has to be. So for someone to just want to come out here and hang out, like, come on.
Exactly. So it's just, and I do not know of another place on planet Earth that has the ambiance and the atmosphere that we have here.
Neither do I.
Nowhere. We are so incredibly blessed.
Yeah.
You know, Flabob actually is much better known in Europe and Asia than it is across the hill in downtown Riverside.
That's amazing. Isn't
Not at all uncommon that you know, we'll be out here on a weekend puttering around and tourists will come up to you.
Right.
And you know, you'll go, where are you from? Well, we're from Australia and we always heard about this place and we wanted to see it. And you're going, well, you know what? You came to the right place. So
yeah.
here,
Let me show you the place to final turn.
Right.
let's get some keys and let's go show you some
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, the pattern is always, we call it the Kai-Tak 1 arrival.
That's true.
It's
That's
like
true. You
the-
spot the hill?
Kai-Tak, for those of you that wouldn't know it, is the name of the old airport in Hong Kong. And basically their approach was they painted an orange and white checkerboard on a hill, and you flew at that checkerboard until you got to a certain point, and then you turned into the runway.
That turn, yep.
So what we say to people is, all right, so you fly toward the flag on the hill, and then you look for the hikers going up the trail.
Correct.
And as the hikers start to get lower and lower, like this, then you know you're getting close.
Yeah.
And when the hikers start waving their arms, then it's time to turn.
Turn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was so cool. I like flying that base turn in a slow airplane. So like with the Cub, with the door open, and you're literally like giving them high fives.
Yes.
Yeah. I love flying in here. Yeah.
In the N3N or in the BT, you're just kind of, you know,
Yeah.
saying hi to people
Yeah.
as you go by, and you feel like you're close enough to yell at them, you know, and they kind of look at you with big eyes like, oh.
Whenever I do that, I'd always think, hey, listen, if there was another me, or there was, you know, me hiking, and that
Right.
happens so closely,
Mm-hmm.
I would track this airport.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's-
exactly.
I would.
That's a great
I
way
would.
to
Yeah.
bring them in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when he pulled you into Flabob, what what'd you start working on?
Pretty much everything. Tom just kind of said, here, I want you to get involved. And he goes, oh, and by the way, we do have some airplanes here, and nobody's flying them. And you would do me a big favor if
You flew them.
I'm going,
The batteries.
really? You know, so I had a limited amount of tailwheel experience, but everything out here is a sport biplane.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
is.
So now I'm flying sport biplanes. It's just like I'd come out and go, what needs to be? Oh, that needs to be flown today.
Yeah.
And you go out and fly it around for a little while.
Yeah.
It's just more fun than you should ever be allowed to have.
It's great. Between you and me, whenever I fly the BT, I go to Riverside and practice landings first, and I come back here because I don't want to embarrass myself on the first landing.
Yeah, I probably should do the same thing. There was one of the airplanes I flew here, and it's still around. I think it's still in the classics hangar. A guy named Ed Marquardt was here for many years, and Ed was a pretty well-regarded designer and engineer. And there were two of his airplanes that we had here.
Okay.
One was a Marquardt Charger, an MA5, and I think I put a couple of 100 hours on that
No
airplane.
way.
It was just amazing.
Is it the biplane in the Racers Museum, right?
No, that's
No?
the MA4.
Okay.
Now,
Did it still fly?
The MA4 was tiny. Well, here's the problem with it. So
Batteries.
you have to check yourself out in the airplane just because it's that small. The spar goes through the cockpit, and if you have a shoe size greater than about a 7,
Oh no.
you can't position your feet on the rudders without having your toes
Gotcha, because it's on the brakes. Yeah.
You can't get down to the bottom of the
Gotcha.
rudder pedals. And I'm walking around with size 11. And so one very challenging afternoon, I actually ran the MA4 off the runway here
that works.
just because I couldn't get my feet on it.
I have small feet. I wouldn't be able to.
So that's, I don't think anybody's, well, I think Norm Mannery may have flown it once since
I didn't know
flew
those.
it.
I didn't know those fly.
I didn't know either.
Great airplane. Oh my gosh, these are just so much fun to go out and fly around in.
Yeah.
So that's, and then in terms of what else I would do around here, it's kind of like, well, look around. What do you think we could do that would be a good program? So
Right.
I began to do the school programs. And we would go out and I would grab a box of my model airplanes and I would sort of give them a very brief sort of aerodynamic based history of airplanes by showing, well, here's the Wright Flyer, and you know, it looks like a pig because it flew like a pig. But now look at how this one was built and designed, and you know, because you had a model with you, kids would pay a lot of attention to it. And then
Right.
after that, then they'd come out to the airport for an airport tour. And I actually did a presentation at Crenshaw High School, you know, over in sort of the center part of Los Angeles. Same thing. I've done it, taken it to schools in Orange County, you know, and so just whatever you could do that would start just again getting kids interested in this and getting them to come out.
Right.
And at the schools, you'd sit there and go, okay, guys, you know, so here we've been through all this, and you know what? One Saturday a month, you want to come out?
Yeah.
And so there would be any number of times where the school would bring a bunch of kids out, and rather than just have them get in line with everybody else for an Eagles ride, I'd bring out the N3N,
Yeah.
and we'd fly in
cool
the
airplane.
N3N. and again, the same kind of a deal. It's a kid, and you want them to really get the experience. There's been no kid ride I've ever given where the kid didn't fly the airplane for at least 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, you have to.
You know, and they don't have to fly it well,
Yeah.
but they're just so jacked up that they got to do that by the time you come back down and land. It's just kind of like, oh. So, and so a lot of these things have been homegrown because we didn't have a lot of opportunities like we have now. Didn't have a lot of people like you know. So we're making this stuff up as we go, and I'd like to think, though, that we've had a really positive impact on on kids and aviation in Southern California over the last 25 years, and it's only going to get better from here.
I think it's going to be exponential because
It's beyond.
we have ways of getting the news out there.
Well,
better than
and with the programs that we've got now it's not like, okay, well, here's a great program and it's great for 7 and 8-year-olds, and
Right.
well, if you still happen to be interested at the age of 25, come on back.
That's right.
You know, now we've got stuff that will bring everybody
Right.
along.
Yeah. I mean, back when
100%.
60 fly the DC-3. That's a
Yeah.
program.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So our last guest was Ed
Ed who?
Thorell.
Ah, okay.
And I guess he brought up that you were family lawyer or something like that. Worked with them
All right.
for the past, I don't know how many years?
It's a great story. Ed's grandmother passed away, and Ed needed some help with handling her estate. He didn't know me from anybody, and I didn't know him. So he comes into my office and sits down, and we're talking, and he's half paying attention to me, but he's looking at the pictures I have on the wall.
Interesting.
And there's one that I always use as a test for people. Now don't hold me up on this later if you end up in my office. It's a picture of a PBY Catalina that was used out of Hemet as a fire bomber
Gotcha.
in the 60s. It's a tall tail PBY 6.
Okay.
And so if anybody comes in and they think well, I know aviation, I go, what's that?
Interesting.
Ed looks at it and goes, it's a PBY 6. And I go, good, you're in.
Nice.
Okay, you got it. And so here I'm talking to this guy who has this unbelievable background in art curating and aviation history.
It's very specific. It's very specific.
Mm-hmm.
What? Where does that come from? So we ended up, he would come over and visit, and we just talk airplanes and stuff like that. And then as time went along, there was an interest for having someone that could handle the QB artifact collection. And I said, I know a guy. You might like him. So that's how Ed got originally set up here. And so as time has gone by, he's got, again, such a unique background that, hey, we're thinking of setting up something like a Wright Brothers reproduction hangar, and Foster would like to see that done. And Ed's going, yeah, I can name that tune in 3 notes.
Yeah, exactly. And it looks great.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Even especially down to no air condition, it works great. It's great in there.
So, and Ed is very sensitive to the idea of trying to maintain the atmosphere and the ambiance. What we always wanted was that you would walk onto Flabob and you'd go, wow, this is what general aviation and experimental and antique aviation was like circa 1930 to
Sure.
1970.
We want that
Somewhere in there.
Disneyland factor.
Yes.
That immersion.
That's a-
you walk
Right.
in,
Great way to describe it.
you're there.
And Ed's very sensitive about that. So when he's looking into what he can do, he's not going to go, yeah, we're going to turn this into Tomorrowland. Hell no, we're not going to turn this into Tomorrowland. But we can still do things with the airport that will improve it, but at the same time,
Make it timeless.
still keep it timeless like that.
Yep.
Yeah. It keeps the specialness of Flabob, which
If you
really
if you look
shines.
at early, if you just to give you an idea, if you look at early pictures of Flabob, the original runway was only 1,900 feet paved,
Geeks.
and then it
Wow.
looks like a cattle track
Yep.
beyond that. And the story goes, somebody once asked Flavio, "Why don't you pave the rest?" And he goes, "If you can't land in 1,900 feet, I don't want you in my airport." I was like, "Huh?
Yeah,
Well,
that
okay,
makes sense.
okay."
It makes sense.
So we've concession to modern times. We've got the nice runway now and all that, but you try to still keep that atmosphere around here. And we're so fortunate to have so many of the classic and antique airplanes, and to have them flying all the time. Again, where do you go on planet Earth to have that happen?
You don't see that.
We'll sit out there sometimes.
It's on airports that you need to it's in a museum. It's on airports. You need
Right.
badges, to get into.
Yes.
This you can literally
Yeah.
just
It's living.
walk up.
And Herm Roland, the fellow that's going to be coming to see us in a few weeks, Herm's worked very hard to try and put a museum together, sort of in a little square area up at Travis. Well, he loves coming down here because this is what he envisions.
Yeah.
But you can't have it there
Yeah.
because of the nature of where it is and what it is. And every other airport on the planet, yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
But nope, at Flabob, we invite you to walk around on the weekends, and if
Yeah.
there's an open hangar, stick your head in the door and
Absolutely.
say hi. See what they're working on.
Yeah. Usually Saturdays are good days to find people. working on
Exactly, yeah. And like I said, we'll have people show up from all sort of corners of the world. Wow, we've heard about Flabob for 50 years, and you kind of feel like looking around and going,
stuff. This
Us?
place?
this? Well, as long as you're here, let's go take a look.
That's amazing. And so Ed's like very adamant about, hey, you gotta ask Kevin about all the things that he's flown. He says you've flown some interesting things. And I'm wondering, okay, well, you talked about the NTN, talk about having a steerman for a little bit. Where's that progression of, okay, was there an aviation milestone in terms of your journey of flying something that you really wanted to?
There have been so many of them.
Well, that's what I assume. That's what Ed was kind of alluding to.
So the biography of Jimmy Doolittle is entitled "I Could Never Be This Lucky Again."
Yeah.
That's me. I could never be this lucky again. I'm not a professional pilot. I'm not a military pilot. To be able to say I've done half of the things I've done shouldn't happen. But again, you end up meeting people and getting into the right positions and taking advantage of opportunities.
Right.
So for me, the biggest thing was I started flying a Stearman when I was in college.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Wow, who gets to do that?
Yeah.
And between my junior and senior year in college, we took the Stearman and flew it around the United States. Took the whole summer and flew it around the United States.
I heard that's the thing to do.
So
I don't know
cool.
if I can ever do that, but I heard that's the
So
thing.
would.
It was, if you ever get a chance to do it, is an experience that is almost life-changing.
And you stay low and slow. You just kind
Yeah.
of go with it. You see the terrain. You
Yeah.
smell the cows.
Well, you learn that in the upper Midwest, when you're looking at cows, the cows always turn their heads into the wind. So if you kind of want to know where, what the weather's like, you kind of look down at the cows and go, oh, there it is. Okay. Now
That's
we're going
perfect.
right, the right spot. And in a Stearman, nobody minds if you end up dipping down really low to read the freeway signs.
Or the water tower.
Or on the,
Yeah.
on the interstate.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you kind of see where you go. And it's a couple of quick stories, but I always had a thing for the DC-3. Even as a kid, if you 737,
Sure.
going all day long, yeah. DC-3 goes by.
Just-
Okay. So I'm out of school. I'm living down here in Temecula, and you're flying 172s on the weekend, going, okay, I can stay awake for one more.
Flaps.
Yeah. Here we go again. And I'm reading a trade-a-plane, and there's a little ad that says, "Come up to the desert and fly a DC-3."
Okay.
So I do that. Now, you need to appreciate that I've got a multi-engine ticket, which I got going to the Quickie Ground School.
Oh, I love
Flight
those.
School
I gotcha.
out at the desert.
You show up on Friday, you leave there on the Sunday
That's
with
it.
your ticket.
You got it. So I go up there and I'm going to fly a DC-3 because it's going to be the only chance I'll ever get to fly a DC-3 in my life, and I can at least say that there's one logbook entry.
Absolutely.
Look what I did.
Yeah.
So I get up there, and basically the owner, who is this kind of Terry and the Pirates Norwegian guy, who he'd had a life full of adventures on his own, and he said, well, if you can taxi the airplane, you can fly it. Well, and as you know, from a
that's
DC-3, it's true.
True.
Well, to me, the DC-3 was just a big Stearman.
Okay.
So I had no problem with it at all.
Cool.
So off we go. And it's been about an hour and a half, and I've been doing takeoffs and landings. And I look at the owner and I go, hey, Jan, how many hours do guys have when they check out in this thing? And he goes, 700 multi. How many hours you got? And I go, counting today. And he goes, yeah, counting today. 500, that's great. And I went, I have 5 hours of multi-engine time.
Heck
Wow.
yeah, man.
And right about then, I noticed he was a little more reluctant to let me, do things with the airplane. But after a bit, he went, you fly this airplane really well. You're very comfortable with it. You ought to get a type rating.
Yeah, you oughta.
I can get a
Stay up here for a week with
I can
me.
get a type rating? Oh. Well, long and the short of it is, I'm the only guy that anybody ever knows that got a pilot in command type rating in the DC-3 with a grand total of 10 hours of multi-engine time.
That's great.
Period.
That's great.
I figured no one would ever let me go near a DC-3 again. I was quite happy to say, look what I got. It's
Well, he
all
let you do it too. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it for you.
And he goes, this was great. So fast forward a bunch of years, and Golden Bomb says, hey, we should go over to Chino because there's this DC-3 over there that a guy that I know named Jerry Bartow wants to give us. I go, oh, DC-3. I'm type rated, don't you? So long story short, the airplane gets back over here, and I start to get into this, and they actually let me fly right seat.
Oh man, they let you off. Nice.
So long story short, I've got almost 400 hours in the 3, 200 as a pilot in command and 200 as a right seater.
That's cool.
And I could never get that lucky again.
Yeah.
Never get that lucky. By the way, the check ride I had to take for the type rating was with an FAA guy
Right.
who was out of Reno, but there were still a couple of cargo operators that were flying 3s, and they had to have someone in the Western region who was
Yeah.
certified and current on a 3. So this guy was coming down to get his type rating. And they figured, okay, well, as long as you got type rating, you can sign Kevin off here, and we'll go do the check ride.
Oh, excellent.
And it's out of California City, up by up in the desert. It's early June, so it's getting warm. So we've been out there droning around for a little while, and Jan, elbows me and says, well, the FAA guy's in the jump seat, dead asleep.
You passed.
And Jan goes, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go back in. We're going to do the single engine approach and landing. And so we did it, and we did it right by the book. Bang, 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 bang. As soon as we touch down, Jan yells, good job, Captain. And the FAA guy goes, huh? Oh, are we done?
Oh my goodness.
I can't. How could this ever happen to this
so
couldn't
cool.
happen to me. So that's how I ended up being a DC-3 guy. I will never have enough hours. I mean, a couple times people have suggested that I should be checked out as a captain in the 3 until the insurance company goes, hey, we got Kevin's experience sheet. It looks like he's missing a 0 for his flying hours. And the answer is, no, that's what he's got. And they go, yeah, he can fly co-pilot, okay? So I'm one of the most highly experienced co-pilots that
Hey,
runs
that's
around
great.
in the airplane. So it's been a wonderful experience doing that.
And it's still here. It's running great. We've got a new program that actually trains people that want to come in and get their SIC or PIC or any just time in the seat. And
I don't think I'm giving away any secrets, but we have secured the European IASA-approved DC-3 simulator, which will be on its way over to Flabob here fairly quickly.
and how many of those do we have in the world?
That would be exactly one.
One.
Is that 100?
One.
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 So we're gonna have it at
It's like my flying hours. No zeros.
No zeros.
No, one.
That's it. So we're gonna be basically a center, even worldwide, because the Europeans were getting people coming in from all over the world
Yeah.
to do that, to fly the sim, and because it's IASA certified, you can use it for recurrent training. You can use it for initial training. You can do so many things with it.
Yeah.
Just another example of what can we do to bring more people to aviation?
Yeah. It's going to be part of our training program, whether they like it or not. We're going to force them into the sim.
You
and
don't
then we're
have
gonna
to
get them into
force
it.
them.
I know, it's going to be fun.
Matter of fact, I can't tell you the number of times we've been to an air show, and I always get ditched, and I'm the guy that gets left with the airplane. So I'm the PR guy.
That's the guy.
Yeah, I'm the PR guy. And people will come up and literally they'll look up and they'll come going,
Can I go in?
can I touch it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't
Yep.
want to.
That's the first thing they
That's
asked me.
so true.
Can I touch it? And the answer is absolutely you can touch it. Now, let me show you the aluminum versus the fabric.
Yeah.
Let
me show you how big the laboratory is.
Well, no, then you go, hey, would you like to come in and see the airplane? No. It's like people going into a shrine.
Yeah.
And so people leave with such huge grins on their faces from being able just to be in a DC-3.
Yeah.
And then you say, why don't you sit in the seat?
Wait.
Yeah, it's amazing. Do all that. I should tell you this, the one crowning achievement, I guess, I have 10 hours in the B-17 Flying Fortress.
Oh, that's a lot.
Wow.
10 hours is a whole lot.
10 hours in a B-17. And they offered me a type rating, but it would have cost me basically, half a year's salary to do it. I didn't have the money.
And a real FAA guy giving you.
Well, that would have been
not that guy from Reno.
That would have been okay. So yeah, I flew Dave Talashay's Memphis Belle
Oh man.
out of Geneseo, New York, up to an air show in Canada,
Yeah.
and then down to Langley Air Force Base in Virginia.
Flew that?
Wow.
Yeah,
That's great.
just an incredible experience that I could never replicate, but so amazing that I got to do it.
Absolutely, man.
Great story from that one, if we've got time.
We have time.
Okay, so again, it's Langley. It's early July, so it's about 99 degrees and 99% humidity.
Perfect.
And everybody's ditched me. So again, once again, I'm the PR guy for the airplane. So after answering for about the 50th time, did you fly the airplane here?
Yes. Oh, that's the same question.
Yeah.
I was like, how do you...
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, we did. That trying not to be smart.
I know, but after the 50th time, you're like,
It's like-
all right.
So I've been visiting with a whole lot of people, and I noticed that there's a lady pushing a guy in a wheelchair coming up to the airplane.
Okay.
And what really stood out was that the guy had a blanket across his lap.
Sure.
It's 99 degrees out, 99% humidity, and this guy's got a blanket. It's like, And as I'm talking to a bunch of people, the lady says, excuse me, my dad was a crew chief on 17s during the war. Would it be okay if he just took a look in the back door? The B-17 has a crew door on the starboard side,
Okay.
which is where the waist gunners and the tail gunner would get in. I said, absolutely. Yeah, glad to be able to do it. So I yammer. Turn around. The blanket's on the ground. The wheelchair's empty. And this guy is now walking up past the waist.
The wheelchair's like tipped over with like the wheel still spinning, and he's like,
And all I can think of is, this guy's going to die in the airplane and it's going to be my fault.
but that's probably the
No.
smoke goal.
So I hurriedly run up the door, get in the airplane.
Make sure he's
For the
okay.
next 30 minutes, about 30 or 40 years peeled off this guy.
Oh, that's so cool.
Wow.
So I'm just,
He told G stories.
yes.
That's
so
awesome.
That
at
is-
first
I
I'm
love
kind of waiting to make sure I don't have to catch him when he collapses. And he's going, in the field, you see that trunnion mount there for the way the ball turret goes? In the field, that was always really hard to do. So what we would kind of do is we'd work this, did that from
That's amazing.
basically just ahead of the tail gun position all the way up to the bomb bay. And just the whole time, just pointing out things.
Your buddies missed out.
And I'm just sitting there,
Where'd you? Yeah.
what do you do? It's just letting him go. And again, it's like he's 45 years old. He's not 85.
Yeah.
He's there. And I said, well, do you want to, the catwalk going up
Yep,
the
that's
bomb
right.
bay to the cockpit is very narrow. I said, do you want to do that and go up the cockpit? He goes, no, pilots. So he turns around. Again, we walk back and he's telling me more things as we go. And he gets out of the airplane on his own, and climbs into the wheelchair, grabs his blanket, puts it on, and says, thank you very much.
Dang.
And off.
Wow.
And for about a half
made
an
his
hour,
day, man.
for a half an hour, I'm just kind of sitting there going, what just happened? What? So flash forward, it's Monday. We're getting ready to get in the airplane and go back home because the air show's over. Phone call comes in from the headquarters out here on the West Coast.
Okay.
Somebody let a guy in the airplane on Saturday.
I'm never invited again.
Oh, here it comes. The guy died 10 minutes later.
He touched some hazardous fluid.
They go, the guy's daughter called us. And she said he hasn't stopped talking about being in the airplane since he got out of it. And even the family is saying it peeled 20 years off of him. And they can't thank us enough for letting him in the airplane, which I wasn't supposed to do, for letting him in the airplane and letting him have this experience. And it was just like, wow. Now, I wouldn't trade that one experience for literally anything in any other airplane, because I didn't do a thing.
Yeah.
I just sort of made sure he didn't stumble and fall and die.
Yeah.
But to be part of that and to have it make that kind of an impression on somebody,
Gave life into him.
that's
there's so many layers to that story.
that's what being involved in antique and classic aviation to me is all about there.
Yeah.
Right there.
I think the biggest takeaway from, like I said, maybe I started hanging out here in Flabob maybe 5 years ago, and it all started with the 3 because Foster brought me in to maybe start flying the 3, and then I met you lovely people. But I think the people that fly these airplanes or maybe originally flew these airplanes, or maybe that's, they grew up flying these airplanes. I mean, a lot of them they're still around, and they're still here, part of this community. And I think it was so great is you have these awesome airplanes, but you also have the people who flew them.
Right.
And that's the story that's my takeaway.
I can't stop telling stories here. There was a guy here for many years. He was in the little Quonset hut right outside of 16.
Okay.
His name was Sam Pratt.
Okay.
And Sam did a lot of, airplane maintenance and stuff like that. Well, when we first got the DC-3, one of the reasons we got the DC-3 was that somebody had left it unchalked over at Chino.
Oh, yes, right.
In a Santa Ana wind, and the thing had rolled into a fence, mangled up an aileron and mangled up an elevator. And so we get the aileron off the airplane and we bring it back, and we're all kind of looking at it going, oh, what are we going to do with this? Well, Sam comes along, and Sam's maybe 90 at this point.
Oh, my God.
Sam comes along and goes, bah, give me a couple days.
Shut up, Sam.
No way.
And so Sam walks away, and he takes the aileron with him. And it's just kind of like, the lights on at night in the hut, and you hear bang, 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 bang. An absolutely drop dead perfect aileron comes out a few days later.
I mean, these people are from the war times. They have to get it out here.
Turns out Sam probably built that aileron originally at Douglas at Santa Monica back in the day. Sam had gotten a job at Douglas in the Depression because he happened to have a tool bag with him with tools in it.
He just showed up.
And when he showed up in the line, the guy that was hiring that day went, "You got tools?" And Sam goes, "Yeah, right here." He goes, "Come on in."
It's like you're not bringing it back to a mechanic. You're bringing it back to the creator, which is
Exactly.
crazy.
So I can't remember the anniversary. It might have been 80 or 85 years, the anniversary of the 3. There was a big get-together over at Santa Monica Airport. And so we packed Sam in the back of the Express, flew over to Santa Monica, and Sam was the guest of honor. Sam Pratt, whose idea of probably, getting together with friends was maybe going to McDonald's with a couple of buds. He's being honored as the guest of honor, as the oldest known employee, or the craftsman or mechanic that worked at Douglas, that worked on these airplanes and built these airplanes. And so it's just like, wow, where do you go to have that happen?
Right.
Exactly. And it's just
It's mind blowing. Yeah.
that everybody's here.
Mhm.
How do you guys
It's a
find each
centered
other?
hub.
How do you guys find each other?
Well,
it's the weirdest.
again,
It's the atmosphere.
it's a generation that is now fading,
I know.
Right.
and frankly, my generation is starting to fade too as we get older. But these were all guys that loved airplanes, and they loved old airplanes, and they loved fabric covered airplanes.
Right.
And no matter where you were in the world, this was Mecca.
Yeah.
This is where you went. And so the guys that were able, this is where they came to set up shop and build things or do things and do all that, because this was the center of it all.
Yeah.
This is where it happened. And again, that's why Flabob is perhaps better known in Europe and Australia and Asia than it is over on Market Street downtown.
Yeah.
It's really truly a pilot's and a mechanic's
Right.
destination. You know, we've got it all here, I think.
We do.
Right?
Absolutely do. Absolutely do.
You want to hit up with the question?
Um,
Closing remarks, questions. We usually say ask the same questions to everyone, to all of our guests.
What's that?
what's your favorite place here on Flabob? I feel like for you, it's like everything because
Everything.
you
I
see
just want
this
to be
vision.
honest.
You see the big picture. So I feel like it's everything for you.
There isn't a place on this airport that I haven't walked on at one point or another over the last 25 years. For me, it's Shady Grove.
Okay.
There is no airport on earth that has a Shady Grove.
Yeah.
Oshkosh doesn't have one.
No.
Sun and Fun sure doesn't have one.
Yeah.
But where is there a place that you could sit, even if you're just sitting, sit at a bench and let the breeze come through and watch airplanes go by? No other place on the planet that you can do that.
That's
That's true.
my answer. My answer is Shady Grove, Golden Hour, the cold one, and hopefully people flying the pattern.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Just sit there, and it just feels perfect. And Shady Grove existed ever since the airport.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Ray
those trees
Stitz.
and those areas.
was there.
Stitz planted those trees probably in the mid-50s
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a special place.
because it's gone now, but the building that was the EAA clubhouse, if you will, was right there.
Yeah.
You know, there's an open space between 16A and like Dave Almey's
Right.
Right.
hangar.
Right.
One of the buildings that was in there was this ridiculously small clubhouse. It was probably
Yeah, I
the
remember.
same size as the building we're in. That was EAA's Chapter 1.
Incredible.
You look at the old pictures, you can see EAA Chapter 1 painted on the roof of this thing. And so the whole idea was that was to go along with their clubhouse.
Yeah.
But if there's one feature of this airport that I will never, ever forget or ever get tired of, that's it.
Yeah. No other airports have anything like that. So close to the runway.
Yeah.
You know, they could have parks, which is great. We also have a park here, but Shady
But it's
Grove
not
is-
close.
You're
You're
right.
close.
Yeah. And you know, when I've done kids groups, you know, hopefully there's somebody in the pattern.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
I'll bring
exactly.
the kids out and put them just inside the deadline for the taxiway.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all right, so here's what's going to happen, and we can, as the airplane works its way around the pattern, I can walk them through or talk them through what's actually happening,
Yeah.
and they can see. I said, now watch the flaps come down more. Okay, now that's to slow them down, so kids can actually sit there and see it.
That's cool.
It's not like you have to watch some spam can video that.
Yeah.
Right.
And here is the flap.
Exactly. You see it happen. Yeah.
You feel the breeze.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
You see them bound.
Right.
Yeah. We had plans at one point, never quite made it work out, where when we'd get to that point, one of us would go jump in one of the airplanes
Gotcha.
and we would have like a little video camera so that we could talk to the kids from the airplane as we went around the pattern and could talk them through
yeah.
what we were doing so they could see it.
Wow.
Just like they, you know, see it.
good
the
idea.
pilot's
That
eye
should be
view
a
of the whole
class.
thing.
That should be a class, yeah.
One of the great ideas that is still yet to come to pass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, that's my answer to your question. Is there's that little 100 by 100 foot patch.
It has to be.
Right.
It
It's
has
the
to be that
center.
size, though. It can't be a crazy.
That's the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
If you're an airplane freak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's perfect. What about yours?
Mine's actually, I thought about it, and it
You
is
change it up?
No, it's the same place, but it gave me a deeper meaning because what he said is, like, him being gravitated by, those pilots who came up to him, right? So my first thing is when I came to Flabob, I got a tour of the airport, and out of the whole entire tour, it was the DC-3 next to Joe Garcia. That area. So, how I said, like, during my lunchtime, it's that place
Yeah.
because of that exact moment. So it was that
That's
hook.
too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's a good place too.
Yeah.
When you said that,
And by the way, just in passing, the DC-3 is one of the greatest educational tools
absolutely.
Yeah.
when kids come to the airport, because you want to explain fabric covering, it's right
Yep.
there. You want to explain
Everything.
what rivets are and where drag comes from,
Yeah.
there it is. You want to explain drag, you show them the landing gear on a 3.
Absolutely.
The whole thing, it's all right there. And so you can basically teach kids a lot of the history of aviation and aerodynamics just by walking them around a 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's out there and it's big.
Yep.
It's awesome. So I think when you said that your first thoughts of flying or aviation was at Burbank Airport, mine started at Burbank Airport too. Back in the day where Costco was Price Club. Price Club.
Yeah, way back.
Price Club shared a parking lot with Burbank Airport. Price Club parking lot, and then you got the fence, and then you got Burbank Airport. So I guess it's back in the day where, I don't know if parents did this, but my parents left me in the car when they were shopping. So for about an hour, 45 minutes, I'm just in the car. They parked it right next to the fence. I can see the airplanes
Yeah.
take off and land. And that's all it took. I just hop out of the car. I sat on the roof of the car and just watched it for an hour. And that's all it took. No one came up and asked if I wanted to come fly or anything, but it was enough. It was enough for me to spark that interest. I don't know. A few years later, my dad, asked if I wanted a flying lesson, and I was like 11, and then I was hooked.
Did you do the little $5 in first?
We did some sort of intro flight.
It used to be in Flying Magazine again when I was very young, but you could clip a coupon and you'd get a $5 initial ride.
Initial.
Oh, yeah.
I still have the ad framed.
Yeah.
I did it when I was 10. My parents called the FBO and said, "Look, our kids,
Don't let my kid's on the way. Careful.
kid is never going to let this go."
Yeah.
And they said, "Sure, bring him out. We'd have a good time." So I got to go fly a 150 around
Yeah.
from Burbank.
That's all it took, man.
And back then, the south end of what's the north-south runway there? Is it 18? No. The south end of the runway on the west side was an air tanker base for firefighters. And so I was the one guy that loved big brush fires in Southern California. So
Who
I'd
doesn't?
ride my bike to the airport. I'd sit there
And
on
they
the
get
fence
busy.
all day. B-17s, PBYs, F-7F Tiger Cats, TBM Avengers. I'd come home with this light orange kind of a coating on me just from the prop wash firing off the Bory, as they were doing things. And I would be out there for 5-6 hours at a time, just staring at them, watching them coming and going.
That's it.
It's just amazing,
Yeah.
Aviation is cool.
Aviation is cool.
to say the least.
Well, Kevin, thanks for your time. I just know there's a part 2 coming from this.
Oh, yeah.
You got so much more in there.
I'd be happy to sit down and visit with you some more if that would be entertaining or interesting to people. Somehow to me it doesn't seem all that interesting, but maybe
It is.
that's because I did it.
Oh,
Yeah, could be.
this is
But
Thanks for your
I've
time, sir.
enjoyed it. Oh, pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
thank you.
Bye, everybody. Have a good night. Hello, everybody. Stanley here. This episode was brought to you in part by the Tom Wathen Center, which is a nonprofit 501c3 organization that focuses on free or low-cost aviation education programs. If you found value in today's podcast and would like to donate to the cause, I would put a link to the donation tab below in the description. Have a good day.